So buckle up. This is going to be a lot of content. Okay. So the idea of this webinar is not that you're going to be a perfect pro in each one of the steps that we're talking you through. But what I want you to take away is like an understanding of, okay, here's how we can start to build a business. And here are the steps you need to go before we get completely frazzled because we need to wear so many hats when building our companies. Hi, Claire. I'm French lady in the US and just launched my new company, an app to help you keep in touch and celebrate your favorite people. Love that. Even if I launched, I need a lot of advice. Yes, I know. And somebody is joining from Paris, France here. Howdy from Austin, Texas. I'm in the process of founding a luxury skincare brand. Michael Ann, so good to see you, that you're here, excited to learn. And bonjour, everyone. Perfect, very international audience. I love that. So let's take it away. So here we are. This is our network. The Guild community is a community of female entrepreneurs and investors and innovators from all around the globe. Last time I counted, we had 52 different countries represented on our platform. I started this company in 2016 out of the need that I saw that we need more community between women and get more people together to co-create and to innovate and to invest in each other as well. So who the hell am I and why am I talking about this topic? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love innovation and entrepreneurship. I absolutely love the part of launching businesses. I've been around the block a few times with a few startups. I've had my fair share of failures, and I've also worked in the corporate innovation world, so I know the other side, you know, being pitched a lot. I also advised some angel investing groups, and then I'm also an advisor right now to the How Women Invest Fund, and also to a few other startups. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that I love to bring people together. I love community. I love to share the ideas that come up in our communities. And I speak quite a bit also about diversity and inclusion and helping founders build diverse teams and bring female founders to the forefront of the funding processes. What you can see here on the slide. And here are a few pictures of our founder fundal lounges that we hosted back in the days when one-on-one in-person meetings were still a thing. And here I am with my wonderful husband. We launched this company a few years back when I first arrived in San Francisco 8 years ago. It was this bumper case. It was called Bezel. We launched that company and sold it in 18 different countries. It was a really wild ride because I came from software IT consulting and had absolutely no idea what I was doing in the consumer product world, and learned a lot and also got a lot of motivation and inspiration in that role. I also acquired a pet nutrition startup and brought that to market. And then I launched the Guild in 2016 after a while innovating at Genentech's innovation team and bringing sort of AI startups and also startups from all over the world to prevent cervical cancer. So I'm still a mentor and advisor to a few different accelerators, etc. So all this to say that hopefully you'll listen to me and that you won't question each one of the things I'm saying. So I have a little bit of background in this space, and of course I would love to share that with you. Here's a picture of our Guild community. So these are the events we typically hosting in times of pre-COVID, I should say. We have a wonderful platform as well where you can comment and share. And please, if anything awesome happens in your startup world and life, or you have any questions, please share it on the platform and get advice from our members. And then one of the parts that is proprietary to the Guild are our one-on-one introductions. So we connect you. If you join our community, we connect you through our technology one-on-one to other awesome people in the community. This might be other incredible female entrepreneurs or investors or ecosystem partners that might be a good match for you. And then you can accept that or not and get on a video chat call with these wonderful ladies. Okay, so that's what that looks like in COVID times. So you get these virtual introductions. So what are we here to learn today? And I had to make the font really small because I promised you a lot. And so don't get overwhelmed. We're going to walk through this step by step, and then we're getting into the questions after that. Again, it will be a high level since we only have an hour today, right? But of course, there's also more content, and I will show you that content and put it in the chat as well, that you can dive in on the Guild to get ready for all these different steps. So first of all, we're going to understand how you choose a business idea, then how we're building that minimum viable product to test and to see if that is actually something our users want. And then we move on into the templates that we have put together for you so that it's much easier for you to launch a company than it was for me 10 years ago when I did my first one and horribly failed at the time. This was in Switzerland doing an art business. And, you know, I didn't ask for feedback. I didn't ask for support. I didn't have any mentors. I just thought, oh, I know how this works, right? Because I came from the consulting world. And well, I learned a ton. And so here we are a few years later, or almost a decade later, and we have put a lot of good templates together for you that you can get access to here as well. We're going to talk about business models, how to choose a business model, and marketing, how we start marketing without just burning money, building a team. And then we talk quite a bit also about fundraising, because at that point we're all there as entrepreneurs and we say, well, we have this wonderful product and what now? You know, like people want it, but I need money to grow. I need money to build my next features. How am I going to do that if I don't get outside funding? And then I'll show you sort of the step-by-step guide of at which point in your journey is it the right time to ask for funding, because we get a lot of questions in our Guild Academy programs around that. And so I thought we're preloading this today with this webinar here. And then of course, last but not least, how are we going to build a community that supports you on that journey? Not just in terms of questions around your financial models and IP protection, but also self-care and understanding that there's other people out there who are going through the same things and who support you. Okay, let's jump right in. Okay, ideas. Some of you might be beyond that point of ideas, but I challenge you to think about ideas all the time in your startup, because if you are thinking about the next feature that you're offering or the next campaign that you run, it's all ideas, right? So what we're doing first is we want to think big, and we want to also capture those ideas. So usually I ask people to put a big Post-it on the wall and to start putting their ideas on there on little Post-it notes so that you have a big idea board. Some people love apps, other people love a little notebook, whatever works for you. Put down these ideas for your products, but also for new ideas for your startup. The idea here is not to be specific and judgmental, but to really just put anything out there that comes to mind. And ideas typically generate from bugs that we experience in our lives. So I just had a coaching call yesterday with a company, and she is innovating sexual wellness. And so she went out and she asked a lot of different women what are the bugs in the sexual wellness world for them right now. And she put all these bugs on a big screen and showed me what women in early, in the early 20s are thinking about, what the pain points are for women in the 45 category and above. And so all these bugs go on that list. And the bug list then helps you to create and find new ideas, right? Like how can we change that pain point into a solution for our customers? So if you see bugs in your everyday life, also create a bug list and then see if ideas generate from that. We have a great tool here. And again, I'll put all these links in and send them out after this. It's the idea decision matrix. Sometimes we have idea paralysis, right? I mean, I don't know if you ever experienced that, but I come up with an idea a day or so, and then I'm like, oh my God, we should do this. And my team knows this best because they're like, oh, and like, no, we need to focus. And that's absolutely right. And that's why we have this wonderful decision matrix where you can put your ideas in here, and then you rate yourself. What's your experience in that space? What's the passion in that space? Are you passionate about this idea? What's the uniqueness like? Is that really unique, or are there a lot of different things out there already that are solving that pain point? The resources that you think it will need, right? If you want to put a satellite up and start to observe the world and do awesome stuff in agriculture, that might be completely different than if you are doing something in an area that is easy to prototype. And then the potential return. And of course, that's always like, well, who knows, right? But if you put all the different ideas in here, you will see some ideas, you will have a better understanding that they might have a bit bigger potential return than others. And then it all tallies it up, and then you see, and you can see what ranks the highest here in terms of your ideas. And this is not just for ideas that are new ideas for a new startup, but this is also for ideas after we've talked to users to say, okay, this might be a new feature for my product. It's a new idea, and then we go through it. I've just done this with a company that has a menstrual health cup that they brought to the US market. And now they're thinking about what else can we do to help young women feel better in their bodies. And so we came up with a lot of different ideas, and we started to use this matrix to see what could be the next step for them to innovate. Think big, start small, right? That's always the balance here to capture. Think big, start small, focus on one user. And that brings me to the user. And if you know me, and I know there's a few people here who know me from the Guild Academy programs, I'm a big stickler about our users. And why is that? Well, because we cannot be everything to everybody. We have to be something to somebody, otherwise we're nothing to nobody, okay? And if you look at all these faces here, you can already see that if you have to market to any one of those users, no matter what your solution is, your messaging will be different. The product feature that you're testing is gonna be different. The brand will be even different, right? So you cannot capture everybody in the world with your first MVP and the first step that you take to go out there and tell people that you launched and you have a solution in space. I get a lot of pushback from entrepreneurs and my mentees and universities on that, because they're like, but no, you said I need to think big and I need to serve the whole world and I need the big vision, because otherwise the VCs won't give me money, the venture capitalists, and we're gonna get to those later. And I push back and I say, no, you have to start with one user in mind. And how you create that user is you really think about who is that user? What is she wearing? Where does she live? How much does she earn? What does a day in her life look like? And then you really create that little avatar of that person. You are very specific, especially when it comes to health companies, etc. You have to be extremely specific of who that user is, so that you can talk to that user, so that you can get that user to understand what your solution is. And you want to move that user from that sad part of where that user is right now, that sad baseline of whatever is working or not working in this space right now. You want to move that user up 3 levels at least, okay? 3 levels on a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of their happiness with the solutions right now. So how we do that is we talk to your users, we create a whole bunch of user interviews and opportunities to talk to our users. And this is where that slide comes in. It's actually, I just saw that on LinkedIn, I plugged it in. I thought this is a great slide that shows you that quantitative research here, really with 100 people, for instance, and those are surveys, etc., is gonna validate about 10 things that you think are true, versus you talking to 10 people and doing qualitative good research is going to uncover 100 things. We just talked about this today in the Guild Academy Ask Me Anything session with one of the former co-founders of Future Family, and she was drilling down on that, just as I am. It is so important you talk to your users, and at that point, you don't have to tell them anything about your solution. All you want to understand is what is their problem and their pain point. And right now, how you do that, you reach out on social media, you find the right channel, right? Not every user will hang out on Snapchat or on LinkedIn or on YouTube, etc. Reach out, find those people in your family as well, your friends, etc. Give them an easy link. So this is a Calendly logo here to book time in your calendar and reserve at least 30 minutes. And then do a Zoom meeting and get to know that user and create that trust so that you can really drill down and understand their pain points. I'm telling you, a lot of our Academy participants are telling us that this is a great exercise, and it helps us so much understand what we're trying to solve, how we should trying to solve it, where those people are getting solutions right now. So it also helps us understand the competition, and it tells us if they have money for this as well, right? By just asking them, what's your budget to solve this problem right now? This is one of my favorite formulas. It helps, it works for a lot of different things. It's the Help, Learn, Serve formula. It's from the Prototype Thinking Lab group. So whenever you reach out and ask people for support, you want to use this formula. You would love to, you would love someone's help to learn something about something specific because you think that that person has a unique perspective on it, so that you can serve people like that person. Okay, so Help, Learn, Serve, put that in your ask, and you will be surprised how many people are going to share and book time on your calendar to talk about your pain points. This is also something that's not just once in your startup journey at the beginning. This continues over and over and over, because you need to talk to your customers on an ongoing basis to understand what's working for them, even if you have a solution for them already in the place, and then keep going from there to innovate and to iterate. User interviews is so important, and a lot of people do them wrong. I'm sorry to say that. So, people are like, well, would you buy this thing from me, if it was available? And people would say, yeah, I guess so. And that's sometimes how user interviews are conducted. So don't do that, okay? You want to use open, non-leading questions. And when somebody brings up an interesting point, then you ask, like, tell me more about that. Like, how are you solving this right now? Why are you using this app? What's working in this app? What's not working? So you really want to understand, discover, and find out in that phase. A great template that we have for you here as well. After you talk to 10 to 20 people, it's all a blur. You cannot remember anything, and you have a lot of bias in your mind because you already know what solution you want to create. So you'll pick out the things that stand out to you most. So this user emotions map is a really great Excel sheet where you can put in the key phrases people use, the wants, the frustrations, the repeats, and then what the current solution offers, and then also what's currently missing here as well, right? We have another tab on this. Again, I'm going to share this with you after this. Then, at that point, we're going to take all these pain points and we're going to transform them into the new day for the user. Because now that we understand the pain points, what is it that we want to help them do or become or create or find by creating a new solution? So that one is really important for your marketing. That comes a little later in the process. So at this point now, we have started to understand, okay, here's a really big pain point. It might be a different pain point than we thought in the first place. And that's okay. We need to be open-minded and lean into that. And at that point, we will then start to create a product feature that we're testing, okay? This is something This is a video I put together about the survey canvas. I'm not going to dive into that now, but it's also available on the Guild. And again, I'll share the link if you're interested in how you're going to create awesome surveys after you talk to your users in the beginning. So qualitative research and then quantitative research before we then get to our key learnings. What did we learn? And then we test. So what is the most important product feature that you would like to test to see if this business has legs and people want to buy it and even give you money for it, okay? So what might be your experiment that you're starting to create here? And that's where a lot of people get stuck. They're like, whoa, no, I need $1 million to build this to experiment. No, all you need in many cases is just a piece of paper to put piece of paper prototypes together to see what people respond to you. And of course, you can also create websites or landing pages and splash pages. And there's so many easy tools out there. So there's no excuses anymore that you need the developers for this. There's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's WordPress, there's templates, there's Shopify templates and shops if you have something you want to sell. There's also marketplaces out there if you're thinking about creating a marketplace. And you know, just today we talked about the founder of a milk store. She said, you know, they started with a sheet, a Google sheet, and a SurveyMonkey, and a MailChimp, and that's how we started our business as well. We have an Excel sheet in the background, and then you make manual suggestions for people. It doesn't have to be all automated, okay? So the experiment is really something small. You're starting to test to see what the reaction is from the people, and if you're indeed actually changing them from a 3-point on a happiness scale to at least 6 point. Okay, so we're building low fidelity prototypes at this point. What this looks like of some of the Guild Academy participants is, here's some examples of this. So one of the companies is building a cooling bra for hot flashes. So here in the back, there's a gel pack in there that cools you down when you have hot flashes. I had no idea. I saw all the stats that, you know, women have up to 120 hot flashes a day at certain times in their menopause. And so this is their prototype. They don't have a bra yet, right? They don't have a perfect thing that they can sell, but they put something together and they say, if you're interested, put your email here. What you can do is too, you just put a buy now button on here. And then that goes to a website saying, we're not quite ready yet. Thank you so much for your interest. Put your email address here. We will let you know when it's ready. We're also looking for beta testers. Would you be interested in that? Right? So what you're doing is you're testing the market. Are people in fact clicking the buy now button? And that's what Chelsea from Cruise did here too. She's creating a platform about trusted and verified personal coaching support for women. So it's a platform where she matches coaches to people who are interested in meeting those coaches. And of course, she wants AI at some point that does that all automatically in the back end. But what she created was this wonderful splash page and then a form where I can fill out, if I'm a coach, what my coaching is like, and the coachee can fill out what they want. And these are typical forms. You can use Google Forms. You can use any kind of form that the Wix websites and the Squarespaces are offering. You can use a type form. You can use a lot of tools that are available right now to get to that point. Here's a few other examples of amazing founders in the Guild Academy, what they put together as their MVP or their low fidelity prototype. And then you test, right? Get that in front of people and see if they convert. So if your head is spinning now and you are wondering if there is a program that takes you through all these steps one by one with a group of female entrepreneurs that go through that process with you, and Silicon Valley serial entrepreneurs and experts, professors and authors who can answer your questions, then I have good news for you. We have a special offer for you today here for our 8-week Guild Academy program. The program takes you through all the steps we just walked through and the steps that are still to come in this webinar, and gives you access to a accountability group, to the experts, to myself, one coaching sessions, and a workbook. And at the end of the program, there is an opportunity to showcase your company in front of investors. So today I'm giving you a very special offer and deal here for the Guild Academy starting in January 2021. If you are pulling the trigger in the next 48 hours, you can make use of the $997 offer, which is half of what we usually offer this program for. And now back to the program and back to our Guild toolbox. We have also another amazing resource. It's called the Guild Marketing and Product Toolbox. And here are our Guild picks. So we show you all these different things on the list of this toolbox. There's about 80 different options in here that you can use for either no money, for free trials on these things, or for free in general for small fees to build your prototypes. So you don't need thousands of dollars to build these prototypes. You just need to pick a few of these and puzzle them together. Okay, so that's while we build our MVP. And then, and a lot of people say this is not the right order, but I am very bullish on this point. You have to think about your brand values, because a brand is not just a logo on a website and looks cool and that's it, right? A brand is really what you are all about, what your company is all about. What's your mission? What are you trying to achieve? And how are you trying to do that? And now if we go back and look at this, right? Like people could have put a bra here completely differently, right? So the NISA effect here is trying to show a little bit more of a scientific type of approach to this, right? Versus this one is more playful. And then, this one is maybe more, targeted towards millennials. And this one is definitely more corporate, right? We see that just based on the colors and the fonts and things like that. And that is all what these brand values are all about. So the exercise here is to think about 3 brand values that you want your people, your customers to take away when they take a look at whatever material it is you put in front of them. That could be a postcard, that could be an ad, that could be an email, or it could be a landing page. And then see if you ask them these brand values, is that actually what you thought it was? Maybe NISA FX wants to be more playful. Well, then they need to change their branding a little bit, right? So it's much, much more than just a color and a font and a logo when we talk about brand values. And I think it's very important to do that at this point, to start to understand in the competitive space that I'm in, what are those brand values that I put forward in my brand, in my look and feel, and in my communication, in the kinds of words that I'm using to speak to my customers and to explain my product, and to then also ultimately hire a team and get advisors involved and get them excited about your company so that they want to join your mission. And that's why brand values are super important. We have a lot of different materials around that in our Guild Academy programs. But of course, you can also post this on the Guild, for instance, say, hey, what do you think? Like, what 3 brand values would come to mind if you see this? And see if that is actually what you wanted to solicit. And then we're moving forward. Next step in our entrepreneurial journey here, metrics, market, and competition. So I say this in one slide. So metrics is really important. You have to understand what means success to you. And I see a lot of founders who have these vanity metrics, because it's awesome to be a founder and it's awesome to have your own thing. And maybe you left your corporate job or whatever, right? And then you want to show the world that whatever you're working on is in fact awesome. And so a lot of people jump into the vanity metric gap. And that is a tricky one, because then it means, oh, I got so many likes on Instagram, or look at me, I got all this accolade on the press, or whatever it is. And so you have to really think about, what is it that makes or breaks my business? And that's the metric you want to follow and chase at the very early stages. So if it's conversions on your website, that could be a metric, could be daily returning users. It could be a lot of different things. It could be revenue, right? And I think in many cases it should be revenue. But decide on your metrics at this point. Then think about your market as well. How big is that market? Yeah, menopause, for instance. Some people think like, oh, a few people have menopause issues. Oh, it's like half the world is women and they're all gonna have menopause at some point for like 5 to 10 years of their lives. It's a huge market, okay? So that's also what your investors wanna see. Is it a market that's big enough so that if you carve off a tiny little bit and a sliver of that market, and that might only be 1% ever, right? Is that enough for you to have an awesome business? So think about the market, do in-depth research there. And if you're building pitch decks, then also put your resources and the sources where you got that information, and not just sort of do this like, yeah, it's a $3 trillion market, and you know, we're gonna have a piece of it, of course. And then at this point now, we already talked about competition a little bit in our user interviews. That's a great way to start to learn about competition. The competition is super important to make us understand who else is out there. How are they solving the problem that you're solving? And then how can I create something that's more unique and more valuable than all these other competitors that are out there? We have a wonderful template here too. It's very comprehensive. So it's all these 4 different categories of marketing and funding, etc., there where you can put in the metrics of your competitors. So you really do a deep dive, take like a weekend or 2 days of doing a deep dive on all your competitors to understand what are they offering, how much money do they have already, who are the founders, how long did it take them to get where they are, what are they currently offering to their customers, is it at which price point, right? Is it freemium or is it thousands of dollars, or what is it, right? Like understand those pricing tiers. Book a demo with them too, if it's in a B2B SaaS space, for instance, or go to the Sephora store if you have a skincare company and see which other brands are out there, how are they marketing, and who of the people who are in the store are actually buying things. I had one company, they were putting little stickers on things in the CVS store to see if that product was bought. And it was in the store for 6 weeks. The number 1 item there was that. That told them a lot, right? That doesn't mean that people don't buy that product. Maybe they see it in the CVS store and then they buy it online. But it tells you maybe if your push towards retail is important or not. So look at your competitors. Again, I see a lot of people that are like, oh no, I don't know if that's ethical. I'm like, no, you need to know who your competitors are, okay? Like go in deep. You need to understand who they are, sign up for their stuff and experience whatever they're doing so you see what's missing, so you can really create something unique here. And then it comes to making money, the business model, right? And sometimes everything breaks at that point. And then, we need to go back to square one and create a new idea, put them in our metrics, do the user interviews, create a new experiment and see what works. But it is so important that we understand how it all connects together in our business model. And we have amazing entrepreneurs and experts on our platform that help with business model canvas, which is the typical tool that we're using here. Here, I'll show you what that looks from BMI. Those are the original guys and ladies who wrote the book, The Business Model Canvas. And it's a wonderful exercise, and it brings all the things that you've learned up until that step together, and it makes it really congruent where you're like, oh, now I understand. But it's not just one of these things that you print out and put big on your wall. It's a few. So maybe in some cases I've seen people do 10, 20 of these, because in each one, your value proposition might change a little bit based on your customer segment here, right? Or it's a different, a lot of people say, oh, I also want to sell to employers or to B2B. And I also want to sell B2C, direct to business, business to consumer, business to business, right? That's what these acronyms stand for. And so in those cases, you can't have the same value proposition for somebody who buys your product. It just had milk stork today from you, from your website, versus somebody who gets that reimbursed from their company, for instance. So in which case you sell to the company. So your value proposition is completely different, right? Yeah, to the employer, you're saying, no, you know, this new product, the milk stork product where the women can get their breast milk shipped to wherever they are working is gonna help, you know, bring 20% more women back early from maternity leave, and they're going to be 30% more productive, and they're going to love you so much that they're never going to leave, and retention is going to be through the roof. So that's your value proposition if you're talking to an employer. Now, if you talk to the woman, she doesn't care about her productivity as much as, you know, maybe just ease of mind and not having to carry, you know, a 5-pound bag through security and then having to explain why she has like milk containers in her backpack, right? A completely different value proposition. So therefore, 2 different business model canvases, 2 different business models. Now that you have your MVP ready, now it's the time to think about, how can I market this? How can I get the word out to people so that they learn about me? And again, we have some awesome content here. Also on the Guild platform, for instance, we have also workbooks available where you can decide what's the priority for my brand. We have partnerships as well with other companies where you can dive in. So this one is in the recording piece here, for instance, how to write an email sequence to pull people in, to make them buy from you. Email marketing is still number 1, right? Like, yeah, we have Instagram and influencers and TikTok is awesome. But, you know, at the end of the day, it all still comes down to email marketing. So definitely, you know, start with a channel where you can talk to your community. And then last but not least, you need to think about your team. You know, who do you need on this journey to bring you along, to bring you to the next level? And where are you awesome and maybe not so awesome? Where do you have gaps? And then fill those gaps with your team. We have awesome checklists here for co-founders as well. If you're thinking about bringing on a co-founder, you can go through this entire checklist here. We put that together with a law firm, and you know, anything from founder questions, you know, what happens if you want to leave in 1, 2, 3 years, right? What does that mean? And you know, conflict resolution, what happens if we don't agree? And how do we think about our team and those kinds of things? So it's a great checklist, great resource here as well. And now, of course, community, right? We talked about this already. How do you build a community that you don't feel alone? And I just asked the question in the Guild today. I said, what do you wish you had known in starting your business before you started? And Leslie here said that she thought that the importance of community was one of those things that as an entrepreneur, you often navigate uncharted waters. And so, you know, you want to catch those other people around you who are at that same stage. And maybe there's some here today in this webinar and on the Guild who could be that community for you. You can also find them through local chapters. There's also other communities out there, Facebook communities. Alpha is great. I Fund Women has awesome community. Hello Alice is a fantastic community as well. And so definitely make use of that. And so now, last but not least, before we open for questions, we're jumping into funding and the fundamentals of funding. So let's take a look. We just put together this infographic here, and let's think about this for a second. So we're at the business idea stage, right? That idea stage that we just talked about. So we're talking to users, we're doing in-depth market and competitor research. We test one product feature. And at that point, again, we don't need a ton of money to do that, right? So at that point, everything is still in the air. Our product might be completely different than what we thought it would be because we're talking to people. So bootstrapping, meaning like you're basically putting it all together without any money, is the most common way of funding your business at this point. Maybe you have friends and family and fools, sometimes we say the 3F here, that give you a little bit of money, anywhere between maybe 10 to 100K. I see some grants being put out there by Hello Alice, for instance, for 2.5 grand, so that you just, you know, kind of create those surveys and those user interviews and buy some of that software that you need to cobble something together that resembles an MVP. It's very unlikely to get investors here or any debt financing or funding that, you know, either your bank or from investors or angel investors. So then we're moving forward, right? We're prototyping because we know now how to do this. And so at this point, we're iterating on your prototype and our prototype, and we're starting to attract expertise, right? Like, we understand we need maybe somebody who can help us put that gel pack in some fabrics, or maybe we need somebody who can help us with the marketing, or whoever it is that we feel like we need. We bring in the team to cover the gaps that we have and build this great team. At that point, we have a better understanding if this thing is actually something that's going to have legs. And at that point, friends and family and also angel investors are going to come in. Angel investors are people who have either $1 million flying around in their bank account, or they make a certain amount of money each year. And so they are accredited investors that are able to invest some of their money into these high risk ventures. And that's what you are, okay? You're not a stock market, a highly traded company. You are a high risk venture at this point. And that's where, you know, people ask for equity. So they say, okay, if I give you $100,000 today, you are going to give me X% of your company. And maybe sometimes that is, or in most cases, that's done as a convertible note. So that means that I'm not getting that piece of your company right now, but I reserve that piece of the company if your company progresses to the next stage. And then I will own 10% of your company or whatever it is, okay? So grants are available here as well, and product crowdfunding. So it's a great way to put your product out on a Kickstarter or iFundWomen platform and say, here's something I'm gonna build. Do you want to help me build this? And give me already $100 before I build it. Okay, so that's product crowdfunding. And now we're moving into our first customers. That's exciting. You know, people want what we built. Isn't that incredible? So let's see if they're actually happy with it. Let's see if they return and come back to buy more. And we take a close look at our finance and our financial templates. There is a wonderful financial template in the Guild as well that is perfect for that stage, that tells you about the product margins and how much money you can pay yourself or not pay yourself, at which point you're going to be cash flow positive and all those things. Again, I'm going to send that to you after this. So the early traction here and the success stories of these very happy customers, that's the point where angel investors and very early stage VCs, venture capitalists, are getting excited about wanting to be part of your success story and your growth here. And that is typically the pre-seed, seed round. What we're saying, these are between $250 to $2 million. And that can mean that your company is valued at maybe about $3 to $5 million, depending on, you know, your valuation at that point. So valuations are kind of just something we pull out of the air at this stage, but we are looking at your forecast and we're saying, well, I think based on these sales right now, based on your monthly returning revenue, MRR, we think that this company is worth X. And then basically we're giving you $250,000 now. And if that's at a valuation of 2.5 million, that's 10%, okay? So that's kind of how it works, just generally very, very high level. And equity crowdfunding here becomes a thing as well. So equity crowdfunding is when you go on platforms like WeFunder, or you go on platforms like crowdfunder.com, or those kinds of platforms where you say, okay, listen up, I have an awesome offering and you can be part of it. And I'm not going to give you this cup. I'm actually going to give you a percentage in my company if you are part of this round. Okay. This has a lot of different implications in terms of future funding rounds. And so We have modules on this as well, where you can get more information. But if that's something you want to look into, equity crowdfunding is an option at this point. And then we're going to the repeatable growth area. This is when we feel really good. We're like, yes, we hit the jackpot. There is a product market fit here. We are creating something that people really want. We are moving them at least 3 steps on that scale, right? And people are paying us for whatever we are creating. That can be in the SaaS space, B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. Okay. And we know how to market this. So if we crank on the marketing machine, now in 2 months, we still know how to double our ROI, or not ROI, we're double our sales, because we know there's a positive ROI, return on investment, in our marketing campaign. So if I give $10 to you in terms of marketing, right, and then you generate $20 worth of sales and the product margin is really high, we're making positive return. So we decide on our product growth at this point as well. And we hire top talent to help us grow this company, right? We need business development managers. We need people who oversee the tech, those kinds of things. And then we think about financing this all, right? Like, do we need money to actually grow this? Or are we actually already cash flow positive so that we don't need to take in this outside investment, bring people into the company that are becoming part of the decision process because they might want board seats, and then they become, decision makers in your company. And so those are the typical traditional VC rounds here. Seed round 2 to 5 million right now, more or less average in the United States here in Silicon Valley. And then Series A are currently on average 15 million. And then, your company is valued about 40 million or so at that point. And then, from there, we move on into Series B and C, etc. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. So those are just the general sort of overall, fundamentals of funding. I would love to tell us about what you're working on right now, and then also give you a quick pitch of our awesome programs that we have. So if you felt like, wow, this is a lot, I'm not sure if I can do this alone, even with all the templates from the Guild and the community, we have a Guild Academy program. So we're bottling the secret sauce of Silicon Valley, because we thought entrepreneurship should not look like this. It should look more like this, and create a new kind of online course and accelerator to help you go through the process. So here are a few of our wonderful people that went through the program this year. We had about 100 people and companies that went through our programs. Here are a few faces from the different people from all over the world. And the uniqueness of that program is that you get to talk to people who have done it. It's not just me teaching it, it's really all these incredible people you see here who have done either video modules, or they're joining us live in this 8-week program that's kicking off in January. And with that, lots of people love it. So feel free to read up on that as well. But I know I spoke very fast, and we only have 10 minutes left for questions. So I want to go over here and check on the chat and see if we have any questions, and see what's happening here. So, okay, let me go back and see what's happening. So, Cocquyt, you have an idea, a footwear idea, a social element in next phase, but no idea about manufacturing and supply chain. Rather outsource all that and be online, dropship. Help. Okay. Yes, I hear you. This is a typical question, right? Like, when you're new to a space like that, it's very intimidating. So first of all, I can make an introduction to somebody in our network who is a supply chain expert. She also hosted a webinar just recently, and I can send you that introduction. She might be able to help to tell you where is a good manufacturing place in the United States or outside of the United States, right? It's always a price question, and it's a question of your brand values. Do you want this to be manufactured in China and create a lot of CO2 by shipping it all over the world, or do you want to manufacture locally? And those kinds of things, that's why brand questions are really important, to answer those questions. And then, drop shipping versus online, that's always a good question. It really depends. Sorry, I can't answer that question clearly and say, okay, drop ship or not. But I would also check out Make Lane. That's a community that's very specifically focused on e-commerce. And they have amazing resources around that. And they just had some webinars about drop shipping. And so I would highly recommend to connect with them as well and see what happens. Another founder in the guild, Bianca Gates from Birdies, she has also started to just, with their kids DIY kit, put little slippers together. And then she created this incredible brand that now is Sarah Jessica Parker is endorsing. And, she's just like taken in a lot of funding, even from Lightspeed Ventures, et cetera, and is off to the races. So she prototyped the initial shoe by herself with, memory foam, with whatever she had in her kids DIY kit. And then she found manufacturers in China that were basically doing that. Great question. Michael, and you're asking, when do you recommend that founders start paying themselves a salary, even if it's very, very small? I'm in the place where each of the consultants I'm working with are working on about 2,000 a month retainer. Is it fair to pay yourself as a founder even 200 a month, 2,000, as you're getting things up and running? Okay, so excellent question. And I see a lot of people pay themselves way too late. So look at the financial planning template that we have and decide what is the budget that you have and where do you need to spend that budget and how much do you need right now to make this happen and make you happy and make you the best possible founder you can be for your startup, right? If you're paying consultants 2,000 a month, of course you can pay yourself 2,000 a month as well, right? Like you have that budget somewhere. So you have to make yourself first happy to be in a place where you are the best possible CEO for this company. And then you look after the other things. I mean, okay, I know there's a gray space in this too, right? Where sometimes you have to bootstrap and maybe there's some, bottlenecks in the process. And then you just decide, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 more months, or I'm going to give myself 3 more months, or something has to happen until this happens. But make sure you really understand your financials. It's very daunting, but basically only what you're filling in are the white cells. So how many units you sell, at which growth per month, etc. And it really shows you the salaries and what you're able to tell yourself to pay yourself. And then up here, it shows you at which point you're going to go break even. So spend time on this financial planning template to understand where are you with all of this and what is the amount you need, right? You see that here, like that's the stuff you need, without those $25,000 here, you're not going to make it to break even in this calculation. Okay, so definitely think about yourself and do it earlier than typically people do. Claire, I have been a fan of the Guild since its inception. Woohoo, that's awesome. I have a prototype that works well on the App Store and some first users. These users are among my personal contacts and I'm talking to them to capture feedback. I see all these things I can do now, create community marketing initiatives, funding process, etc. What would be the very first next step? Okay, well, it depends on your goal. So the most important thing is set a goal. What is your goal? Are you gonna try to get to break even? Or are you going to try to launch this massive marketing campaign? Are you going to try to go after influencers? Are you going to try to rebuild the app to have more product marketing features like referrals and things like that? So that would be my questions to you. What is your goal? What do you really want to do next with this amazing company? And then double down on that. And then decide, okay, does that mean I need to raise funding? And does it mean that this company is going to be $1 million in 5 to 7 years, right? Which is kind of what VCs are looking for, right? Like, is that what you want to do? If that's the case, if you want to be that big, then yes, go after VC funding and tell that story. If that's not the kind of thing you want to do, you want to just grow slowly and maybe, have it as a lifestyle business on the side, then decide on different things, right? And maybe you can start to experiment with your business models. You can start to do a freemium model, maybe charge for the app or certain content in the app and sort of go from there. Also, maybe bring in somebody, bring in a co-founder. I don't know if you have a co-founder to maybe do some of the things that you think needs to be done, but you don't have the budget to hire somebody. It's always an option to bring somebody in for equity. So, you know, or a small salary or whatever your budget is, and say, okay, do you want to be my co-founder and do this together? And you are helping me bring this company to the next level, and you're stepping in that role, right? So that would be sort of what I'm thinking about. If your product is really built around community, and you think community is absolutely core to what you're doing, and by bringing more people in, then you're gonna really exponentially x up your sales. That's an opportunity and an option here as well. Okay, is the Guild accepting companies that help entrepreneurs make their products and get them to market? Yes, I am one, but I also want to be more involved in the community to help me understand the needs. Yes, let's talk, Chris. Why don't you send me an email and we can figure this out? So we have other companies like SaaSmic, a software company that has an amazing team of software developers that we're working with. So if anybody is stuck or needs a referral, then we absolutely have those partnerships with companies that we know, that we trust, that we have built partnerships with over years, that we know either ourselves or that have great experiences with our users. And the financial template is beautiful, so useful and needed to make this early stage accounting process less overwhelming. Yes, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Like I've seen financial planning templates that are going on forever and you're like, oh my God, I don't know where to start. And you know, the other part of this financial planning template here is also you can put your SaaS things in here. I put a few in here that we're paying for instance, and that just gives you an overview of how much you're paying per month. And the cool thing here is too, and with our Guild Pro membership at $27 a month, you get, and there's 1 month's trial, so you can, you know, get all those goodies. I'm just going to give you a secret right now. You can get all these goodies by signing up for the trial. And then, you know, if it's not for you, you can leave again. But we have awesome partnerships with SaaS companies that give you all these free trials or $500 off your first year, $2,000 off on your Stripe account, and all these things that you need as a business, you know, not just for prototyping. And so that's one of the benefits. So we're right at the end of the hour here. So I hope you're going to join us on the Guild, join us at our networking events as well. We have pitch feedback Fridays if you have a pitch together already. We also have a few awesome courses lined up for you. One of them is free, the Idea Factory. If you want to go through that process of, you know, ideation and user interviews, it's a 4-week program. It's completely free on the Guild. It's called Idea Factory. You can check that out as well. Seeing lots of thanks here. Yeah, of course, please join. It's free with the starter program. We have a pro level as well. If you're interested in these one-on-one introductions, if you're interested in more connections with us here. And I hope it was helpful. I hope you understand better all the different steps you need to take. Again, wait for that email. I send you all the links and all the templates so you can get started. And if you ever get stuck, you can also talk to me through the link that is posted here. So book your one-on-one with me, and also think about if the Guild Academy program is right for you. We are starting on January 7th, 2021, and applications are open now.